I'm your cult boyfriend. We're looking at the 25 most overrated films ever, ranked. Let's see. So I'm already finding this disagreeable. This could be a fun video, right? This could be good. There could be some good insight, some good laughs, maybe some controversial statements. Overrated movies, man, everyone has their own definition of what makes something overrated. Sometimes I think that an overrated movie is actually underrated because it's overrated for the wrong things. So this should be a fun fucking stupid fucking video, dude. Let's do it. Isn't it a wonderful thing? It's the fascinating idea that two people can watch the same film and emerge completely different, perhaps even polarized verdicts, blah blah. Dude, I don't care. Just give me the meat and potatoes. American Hustle, overrated? I have literally never heard someone talk about this movie. I mean, I think it's forgotten. I don't I don't think American Hustle is a true concern. Gravity, I remember people saying Gravity was overrated. I don't care about enough about Gravity to defend it or condemn it. I'm gonna keep going until we see something I care about. Private Benjamin, who cares? Desperately Seeking Susan, who cares? All right, so far this video is a void, right? It completely lacks both insight and humor. Prisoners, dude, once again, I do not care. I do not care if you call Prisoners overrated. Elf. Elf. I think calling a Christmas movie overrated is just fucking a waste of time. Perhaps the most overhyped genre of all. Christmas movies. Overhyped Christmas movies. No one takes them seriously except for like 25 days out of the year. What are we talking about? How are they overrated? Like, Christmas movies are often hastily canonized simply because there are so few festive alternatives. Canonized? Do you mean like part of a family tradition? You know, like that's opposite from being canonized as art. Are you just saying that like there are better Christmas movies? Christmas movies, I don't think they're the most overhyped genre of all, but I think they are like one of the weakest, one of the weakest genres because they kind of have to be. They kind of have to be incredibly moral. They have to be fucking really sappy, and the narrative system has to be so simple. Almost biblically simple. Such is the case with Elf, the bland and too broad story of a human. That's what Christmas movies are supposed to be, bland and too broad. That's what they're literally supposed to be. Raises an adoptive Christmas elf stacked next to real bona fide Yuletide classics. What's a fucking bona fide Yuletide classic? Like, It's a Wonderful Life, I think, is a Frank Capra masterpiece, but I think he has like eight masterpieces, and that's the least impressive out of all of them. You know, like, what is a Yuletide classic? Like, are you telling me that Home Alone is fucking high art? It's a fucking benchmark, bro. Like, Elf is fine. I don't give a fuck. Top Gun. Is it overrated? Let's see. Let's hear their argument. I think it's a well-oiled machine. It's decent propaganda. Top Gun makes more sense when you consider its source material, not a book or someone's life story, not a comic book or a historical source. Instead, Tony Scott's 1987 fighter pilot flick was inspired by a picture in a glossy magazine happened upon by the film's writer. It was two guys in leather jackets and sunglasses standing in front of the biggest, fastest fucking airplane you ever saw in your life, recalled screenwriter Chip Proser. That makes me like the fucking movie so much more. I saw these fucking coolest motherfuckers, bro, and I had to write a whole fucking movie about it. You're selling Top Gun to me. I'm liking it more than I did previously. The film doesn't venture much deeper than that. Albeit entertaining, Top Gun was, in effect, little more than a 2-hour advertisement for aviator sunglasses and sheepskin jackets. Shut the fuck up. It was a 2-hour advertisement for the Navy and the Air Force. You can't even criticize the movies correctly. You know what I mean? Like, that's not even what people have an issue with. I think you know that some people don't like Top Gun, but you don't know why. yet for years was hailed as a pillar of 80s action cinema. Last year's long awaited sequel, Top Gun Maverick, was a step up in practically every regard, except for its function, right? Because Top Gun Maverick is also a propaganda film, but the following year, every branch of the army, uh, they did not meet their enlistment goals. You know, Top Gun, man, everyone signed up after Top Gun. Top Gun was an actually effective and successful propaganda tool, whereas Maverick was a failure when it came to, I think, what truly mattered for the investors of the film. Like, I don't, dude, fuck off, man. You can't even criticize it correctly. I'm down with, I like criticizing Top Gun. You made it sound cool. You made me want some aviator sunglasses. Fight Club, 1999. David Fincher's provocative, anti-establishment psychodrama became a cult classic almost immediately after it was released. Personally, I think Fight Club's cool. I absolutely think it's overrated. I think its philosophy is overrated, but its philosophy might be overrated because people don't understand the satirical qualities of both Fincher and Palahniuk's philosophical diatribes. Like they might not actually understand the satirical parts of it and take it extremely to heart and treat Tyler Durden's words like unironically like gospel. But Fight Club, for all its grubby excess, was always punching slightly above its weight. The messaging was a little too smug and obvious, and the story too dark and jaded for its own good. I think it's really funny. I think it's primarily a black comedy, right? Like I think you're getting hung up on the trappings of the piece rather than the substance of the piece, personally. Fincher would go on to make better, more mature films later in his career. What the fuck does that matter? Who cares? Compared to Zodiac, for instance. Why are we comparing Zodiac to Fight Club? That's so dumb, dude. That's like stupid as hell. You know what? Goodfellas. I don't know, bro. If I can compare Hugo to fucking Goodfellas, like why would I do that though? For instance, Fight Club is the work of a filmmaker still working out which impulses to follow. I think his vision was pretty fleshed out by Fight Club. I think that in Alien 3, we get a filmmaker who lacks confidence for sure. I think that's where we get a filmmaker still working out which impulses to follow. But by seven, he's got it. I think that Seven's probably the greatest David Fincher film, and he made that before Fight Club. So like maturity or whatever doesn't actually matter when we're talking about great cinema. Fight Club, it is overrated, but not for any of these reasons. It's overrated because I still hear this shit quoted by dumb ass fucking drunks at the bar who are my age. So like this film put millennials on fucking suicide watch. Like this film the philosophy of it is completely toxic. But it's supposed to be, like, that's the point, that's part of the funny, like, that's the humor of it, man. It's just, like, Tyler Durden is not who we should, aspire to be like. The film, I don't think, is saying that. I mean, it's making a lot of radical statements that I do appreciate. Do I think it's immature? Yeah, but the film's also saying that masculinity in the late 90s is ultra violently insecure and immature. So, like, the film succeeds in everything it tries to do. We could argue that Fincher and Pitt and Carter and Norton and everyone involved with the film didn't properly express the film's philosophy and made it maybe too easy to fall for. Like that's it. It's well made. It's a good movie. I think it's funny. I think it's really violent, and I think it's often very cool. I think it succeeds in everything it wants to like succeed within, except for possibly possibly making sure that its philosophy wasn't seen as gospel. That's it. That's it. It's just a failure in messaging. That's okay though. That's okay. That's fine, honestly. Goodwill Hunting. Is it overrated? Is it overrated? Like, it's It's not Gus Van Sant's best movie or anything, but is it overrated? There's an old Hollywood rumor that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon deliberately made their breakout film Good Will Hunting as commercial and Oscar friendly as possible to purely get it financed and make them famous in the process. Uh, I don't know. I don't know about that. Good Will Hunting turned Affleck and Damon into household names and won them an Oscar. It's also among the least interesting things they and director Gus Van Sant have ever done. You're gonna call Good Will Hunting among the least interesting things that Damon and fucking Affleck have ever done? Are you stupid? Those are the least interesting things in a world where Geely exists? In a world where Ocean's fucking 25 exists? Dude, get bent, bro. Uh-uh. An incredibly okay drama that never warranted the hubbub that surrounded it. I think it's slightly better than okay. I do think it's like, I do think it's mid. You know, on the high side of mid. There are a lot of really good parts of it, and also Elliott Smith, his constant musical presence within it elevates it just simply, just by virtue of his music being featured within the film. There are some good things about it, and yeah, but it's like it is high mid. You know, it's not overrated. Like, who says that Good Will Hunting is the greatest fucking movie ever made? You know, like who holds Good Will Hunting up as the rubric to to live up to? Like no one. It's not overrated. The Birds. I don't think The Birds is overrated, and I don't feel like talking about Hitchcock. I've done it enough in my fucking life. Gladiator? Let's see why you think Gladiator is overrated. I think Gladiator is a very great movie. To this day, one of the greatest tricks in cinema remains Ridley Scott convincing everyone that Gladiator was an Oscar worthy historical epic and not just a bullish action flick with a big budget and a heavy handed script. As to Russell Crowe's iconic question, audiences were without a doubt entertained. But 5 Academy Awards? Come on. The late legendary film critic Roger Ebert called it as he saw it. Gladiator lacks joy. It employs depression as a substitute for personality, and believes that if the characters are bitter and morose enough, we won't notice how dull they are. People who quote Roger Ebert as an authority are just their brain has been rotted. They're pure fucking brain rot. Roger Ebert was pretty idiotic in a lot of his statements, and this is an extremely idiotic one. To quote, Gladiator lacks joy. It employs depression as a substitute for personality. What the fuck are you talking about? There are so many things wrong with just that one part of it. Gladiator does not lack joy at all. And depression is a substitute for personality. Depression is a quality of personality. And I don't think that all the characters are fucking depressed. Uh, Bitter and morose enough we won't notice how dull they are? You're telling me Commodus is a dull character? I think is an extraordinarily complicated villain with so many hangups, enough hangups and insecurities that you could fill up a textbook with them. Dull, morose, bitter. I've never thought of Gladiator as a particularly depressing film. You know, and God forbid we have depression as a quality or a feature of a popular movie. I forgot. I forgot. Everyone's supposed to be really happy when they're forced to fight to the death in a gladiator arena. I'm sorry that the Colosseum didn't have a laugh track for you, my dude. I think Ridley Scott did extremely well here. You know, like I don't care if something wins Oscars or whatever. Um, if you win 5 Academy Awards, there's going to be people who call you overrated, but I mean, the correct response to that is to say that the Oscars are like who gives a fuck? Who cares? Who cares what the Oscars think? Especially now. I a film wins an Academy Award now and they're irrelevant tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like they're becoming increasingly irrelevant. Gladiator is very good. It's not depressing. I don't understand how you could think it's depressing. There are so many hell yeah moments, you know? And you want to see Commodus get his comeuppance, and you do. It rewards the audience with satisfaction, with what they want, with fucking. I mean, I get that it's bittersweet, but all things considered, it is a happy ending for our hero here, for Maximus. Lacks joy. Yeah, dude, I'm sorry they didn't do like NFL style fucking dances in the end zone of the Coliseum, like while all their friends are just dismembered and shit. Sorry that wasn't fun for you, bro. Roger Ebert's not a isn't okay. I think that since he had such a high profile, he had his own TV show. His blurbs were constantly on the front of VHS and DVD boxes when we grew up. It's we have like this false idea of Roger Ebert as being hyper intelligent and actually great when actually he wasn't. There are like there's a world, an entire universe of better, more insightful critics than Ebert. And I don't care if I agree with a critic or not. I care about if they provide a decent argument, if they make me see something in a new and an interesting way, or challenges, like confronts my own personal taste and my own personal beliefs when it comes to art and cinema. And I have to kind of like rethink my positions, and it helps me to strengthen them. Or if you get a really great critic, you can change them entirely. Roger Ebert is not in that category of great critics. He's um he's the Steven Spielberg of critics. You know, like he's a technically capable one, but his reviews are baby food. They're nothing. They're incredibly simplistic, and he is so fucking pompous, man. I also believe he invented that nauseating YouTube thumbnail. Just look at the title of this goddamn book. Every fucking aggravating YouTube film critic is aping this style to this day and getting rewarded for it with a bunch of views and shit. But you're getting the lowest common denominator that way, and that's what Ebert was like. How many movies are on this list? The Notebook? Fuck you. The Notebook's not overrated. It's fucking fine. Who cares? Gone with the Wind? Okay, whatever. Fuck you. A film that has been cited among the best movies ever made, Gone with the Wind is certainly epic in both its lavish set pieces and mammoth 3 hour runtime. But while there are parts of the film that still sing, much of it is either dry and tedious or else terribly problematic. A favorite film of Donald Trump, Gone with the Wind? Like, what? Oh my god, what are you fucking implying there? It's a film that I love as well. Am I Donald fucking Trump? Am I a conservative? Am I whatever you guys think Donald Trump is? Am I like what the fuck is that? A favorite film of Donald Trump? What are you talking about? That's stupid. Okay. Whoa. Whoa, you're right, bro. If he likes it, it's gotta be fucking terribly problematic and overrated. Gone with the Wind is now shown with a disclaimer beforehand, warning of its outdated cultural values. People don't understand. This fucking movie is told from Scarlett's fucking POV. Scarlett is a problematic person. Scarlett is selfish and weird. And we're watching it from her POV. It's her well, it's supposed to be her hero's journey, but it certainly doesn't unfold that way. And that's part of the beauty of Selznick's Gone with the Wind. You know, I'm so sorry that we live in a world where we aren't allowed to inhabit psychologies that might be damaged and troubling. Scarlett's was exactly that. Vivian Lee was a smoke show, and I thought she was incredible in the film, and she was the right amount of fucking hateable, punchable, and lovable and warm. Fucking loved her. Very complicated character. I'm sorry that this film's like central character is too complicated for you. The Revenant, I it's like I don't think it's overrated. You think that the lead performance is overrated. The real surprise about The Revenant is how overrated its lead performance is. DiCaprio grunts and gurns like a demon. So you just think that the performance is overrated? Okay. I don't care. The English Patient? Um, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Once Upon a Time in America, they created this list to try to be triggering at this. Like, who who would ever in their right mind call Once Upon a Time in America overrated? It's one of the most like unique fucking films ever. It's beyond masterpiece. It exists in a landscape where words like masterpiece like don't matter. They don't apply. It's fucking useless to even use them. Once Upon a Time in America is flawless and captivating and confrontational art. You feel every minute of Sergio Leone's 4 hour crime epic? First of all, no, you don't. Secondly, if you did, what of it? You know, you're supposed to be exhausted by the end of the movie. It's a deliberate thing, which has its fans, but never quite hits the heights to match its impressive ambition. What the fuck are you talking about? It exceeds in its ambitions. It transcends its ambitions. It transcends the cinema itself. You know, if it probably doesn't help that several of its cast members, among them De Niro and Pesci, swam in similar waters to much more powerful effect in works such as The Godfather Part 2 and Goodfellas. Those are good movies. Those are also great movies. I don't know what your point is, right? I mean, I know that you're implying that this movie doesn't add up here, but maybe you're viewing it incorrectly. It works as an excellent gangster film, but at its heart is this deeply existential quest, this doomed fairy tale narrative. This tale of Prohibition era gangsters also riffs on the same queasy sexual politics that dominate Leone's earlier westerns. Every woman here is raped. Some enjoy it. Some are only ever mocked for it. This is sumptuous but grubby work. Oh my fucking god. Like, okay, don't engage with it. I hate people sometimes. They see something that is like that is confrontational, that is disagreeable, that is disturbing, and they shut their brain off. They just turn it off and go, well, obviously this filmmaker's philosophy is problematic. His psychology isn't worth engaging with. I'm above it politically. Therefore, I don't need to engage with it emotionally or artistically. And I'm not gonna go into a fucking 30-minute diatribe about how this person is so fucking incorrect that it's not even funny. This is a ridiculously sophisticated film, and to boil it down to fucking an opportunity for you to moral grandstand, like needlessly, right? Needlessly. No one's gonna argue with your stupid sentence here. Wow, you're fucking brave. You're brave for seeing rape as problematic in a movie. You're so fucking brave, dude. Like personally, I think that there are filmmakers who show sexual assault in an insensitive way, like ways that are beyond insensitive, ways that I think are irresponsible, which I think is worse than insensitive. Leone is not one of them. One of those people is someone like Rob Zombie. Okay, one of those people is I don't know, dude. The horror films of the 2000s became obsessed with rape as nothing more than something like exploitative and flashy and edgy to do. Yeah, it was all over that time period. I don't vibe with that. I think that's like wildly irresponsible, insensitive, disingenuous, all that shit. Oh, Sergio Leone, like, okay, why do you think he presented sexual assault in this way? Like, engage with it for a fucking second, and you'll walk away with a deeper understanding of the pitifully dumb human condition. Or since, like, I think it would align with your politics, you would have all the ammunition that you need to criticize masculinity in all of its pathetic violence, its pathetic insecurities. You know, like Once Upon a Time in America, yeah, it's a 4 hour crime epic, and not a second of that time, of that runtime is wasted. Okay, it's an existential exploration. It's beautifully nihilistic. It's completely exhausting. It's gorgeously crafted, and the narrative system of Once Upon a Time in America is possibly the most impressive thing Leone ever accomplished within his entire historic career. James Woods is like an incredible character. I can spend an hour analyzing his character and his character alone. Talk about uh, the, the cruelty of nostalgia, betrayal, and the sadness of friendship itself. Like, dude, you're so fucking dumb. You are so fucking dumb. You make it sound in this blurb like it's a pro fucking rape film. Like, what the fuck? Why would you make it sound like it's pro fucking rape? An anti woman. It's literally not, though. All you have to do is engage with it slightly. I mean, if anything, the movie's anti fucking human. Fuck you. Miracle on 34th Street. I don't care if you think that movie is overrated. I don't give a fuck about it. Amelie? Twee Romance Amelie is a good and inventive film, but no movie would be able to withstand the kind of hype that Jean-Pierre Genet's movie endured. For a generation, Amelie was not just a French film, but the French film. A movie that came to represent in shorthand an entire filmmaking culture. How could any film live up to that? It can't. Of course, this is a film far better appreciated as quirky, acquired taste. Yeah, I think it's quirky. I think it's annoying, but I think it's okay. Like I think it was overrated once upon a time, but I don't feel that way anymore. Like people have chilled out about it. Like they've cooled their jets. I think it's appreciated correctly now as a good movie. Amelie's fine. It was overrated once, but it's not anymore. The Breakfast Club. Tension drama, The Breakfast Club is celebrated as a high point of both John Hughes's career and 1980s teen films as a genre. But while the movie undoubtedly has its charms, much of this has aged horribly. From the insidious social messaging to the cringe-inducing dance sequences, Hughes, meanwhile, has done far superior work elsewhere. Okay, I think that Pretty in Pink is better. I think Pretty in Pink is the best thing Hughes was a part of. Insidious? 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 You sure you want to say insidious? You're saying that this film has harmful effects? What harmful social effects do you think The Breakfast Club fucking has? I'm curious. A lot of people don't like the makeover of the basket case, turning her from goth to conformist, and neither do I. But we have to understand that John Hughes, with 16 Candles, he did something incredible. He gave invisible girls their cinematic moment. Right, and I think he viewed the basket case, the goth girl, especially based on her characterization within the film, as not only neglected but invisible as well. And he saw that sort of glow up as her deciding to become visible and having more confidence within herself. Is that problematic? I don't know. Maybe. Is it insidious? Fuck no. It's not insidious. What are the other parts of the insidious social messaging? What is it the part where it fucking completely criticizes and deconstructs social hierarchies? That's incredibly done. Is it insidious because it forces members not within the groups of archetypes depicted to empathize with those outside of their own group? Is it insidious for giving young people like their own fucking personal philosophies and personal experiences upon a gigantic screen? Is that insidious? Is it insidious because it takes young people seriously? Is it insidious because it's fucking... I could go on and on and on. What are you talking about? Cringe-inducing dance sequence, and you just don't... You're just a no-fun-having little bitch, okay? The cringe-inducing dance sequence, that's fucking awesome, dude. That's one of my... those are my favorite parts. Those are so good. Fuck you. But this is... I'm really hung up on this. Insidious social messaging. Fuck are you talking about? That makes it overrated? Like, how does that make it overrated anyway? I'm sorry, how does a problematic quality, like, even if I disagree that it's problematic, how does a problematic quality make something overrated? Like up here, when you say The Breakfast Club is celebrated as a high point of both John's career and 80s teen films as a genre, even if you believe that there was true insidious social messaging within it, what do you think the 80s teen culture was like? It was likely toxic, likely a little insidious. Okay? So like you don't disprove that. If anything, if this is true, if this is like, if you're actually correct, which you aren't, but if you are actually correct according to your logic, it is like so emblematic of 1980s teens that it's not even funny, that it actually elevates the piece. The high point of John's career. Uh, name something more superior then. Say Pretty in Pink was superior, but you haven't. And like, what do you like? Home Alone? Like, what are you talking about? That could mean fucking anything. Could literally mean anything. This movie is perfectly rated, lives up to the hype. It's brilliant. It works every single time. It's literal movie fucking magic. It's an excellent film. And this is the dumbest blurb I've read so fucking far. Friday the 13th is widely cited as a landmark work in the slasher genre, and it's also widely cited as lazy. It's also widely cited as one of the very first Halloween ripoffs. It's also widely cited as a money grab. No, like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not overrated. If anything, it's underrated for its qualities. Like it's actually better than that would lead you to assume. A film that helped establish and popularize the stalker template that's still iterated to this day. As an actual film, however, it's a long way from its vaunted reputation. No one fucking says that it's as good as Halloween or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Black Christmas. You're confusing the quality of the film and even people's like perception of the quality of this film with its legacy. Most people don't even consider the first one their favorite one, and I don't either. I think part 2 and part 4 are better. Most people view them as interchangeable, as irrelevant mostly. Show me a person who thinks that Friday the 13th is legitimately on a level with Halloween, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Black Christmas. Really, show me one. We know what Friday the 13th is. I think it's underrated because it's actually slightly better than scuzzy exploitation. I think it's actually a little bit of an elevated movie. There's some good ideas in there, and there's some decent sequences. There's some decent shit about Friday the 13th. Okay? I think it's underrated because popular perception of this movie is that it is kind of bad. Like that's the popular perception of the film. I don't know where you're getting this idea that people think it's as good as Halloween or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Is it because there are a million sequels to it? It doesn't mean anything. And like I said, most fans of Jason don't like this one at all. He's not even in it. I know so many people who skip this one when they do their rewatches. I agree, Grease is overrated. I don't want to read your blurb because I know I'm just going to argue about why you think it's overrated. I just glanced and I see egregiously offensive. I don't give a fuck if it's egregiously offensive. Dude, this article, bro. It's too woke for its own good at this point. It's like, what are we doing? We're calling Greece egregiously offensive now? Stop it, bro. Stop it. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Whatever you think of the relative merits of Everything Everywhere All at Once, a kind of low budget action pastiche that sent Michelle Yeoh into a multiverse of parallel realities, there's no accounting for the magnitudes of its massive success. A strange hodgepodge of blunt earnestness and daffy internet humor, everything blah 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 at once, swept the Oscars in 2023, winning Best Picture, Best blah blah blah. A remarkable achievement for a film that lacked the depth or sophistication of most of its rivals. Once again, you're using the Oscars as your reasoning for why something's overrated. No one gives a fuck about the Oscars. No one gave a fuck in 2023 about the Oscars. No one cared. That didn't help it at all. Uh didn't make its reputation better at all. Okay? Like that's not something we should use anymore as a sign of something being overrated. It didn't help make it overrated. I think it's overrated too, but not because it won Oscars. It was overrated long before that. Up, Up, I think is a deeply manipulative children's film. I think it's like it's made in a lab, and you can't help but feel devastated by its opening and stuff like that. Like, I think it's deeply disingenuous when I think that a movie feels scientifically designed to derive specific emotions from its audience. I don't think it works for them at all. I don't like The Shawshank Redemption, I agree. Prison set Stephen King adaptation. The Shawshank Redemption is a perfectly good film. It has good performances from Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman and a strong, moving story. But is it really the best film ever made? Of course not. And yet, Shawshank has long sat atop the ranking of IMDb's greatest movies list, an honor that radically outstrips its qualities as a film. Well, the reason why it's at number one is because a bunch of stupid Christopher Nolan fans were trying to get The Dark Knight to number one by downvoting The Godfather, which was previously at number one. But then, like a dark horse, they forgot to factor in the Shawshank Redemption, which was already extremely high on the IMDb top 10. But by downvoting The Godfather to get The Dark Knight up to artificially inflate its reputation, the Shawshank Redemption ended up having a better median score and like got number one. So like even its position at number one is a falsehood, is fake. Is full of artifice. Like it's not supposed to be there. It's there by some stupid fluke because Christopher Nolan fans are literally the dumbest people ever and have I think done with that demonstrable damage on film by making everyone go, "Oh, Shawshank Redemption. Oh, that's number one. Interesting." No, it's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be at all. At all. I think it's bad for a number of reasons. I think it's yeah, I think it's one of the most overrated films ever made. I hate The Shawshank Redemption. I think it's a film that literally has no personality and nothing to truly say. Okay. So what's going to be number one? Are they going to go for the obvious thing? Are they going to do Citizen Kane or 2001 or The Godfather? I feel like those would be the obvious ones. I mean, my money is on 2001 Godfather or Citizen Kane. Let's see. Joker is number one. I never watched it, so I don't fucking know. Has there ever been a film so bafflingly acclaimed as Joker? Seeing critics hurl stars at this self-serious supervillain adaptation made me feel as if I were the victim of some elaborate prank. I don't understand how this can be construed as a good or enjoyable film. Phoenix's Oscar-winning performance as delusional misfit Arthur Fleck is an exercise in gaudy overacting, and his character is situated in a story that's neither interesting nor remotely fun, and yet people loved it and paid to see it in their droves. I guess the joke's on me. You know what? I guess it is. I'm not a fan of self-serious stuff too much, but a lot of people seem to identify with the Joker, with Joker, with the movie. I can't talk. I never watched it. I never watched it because it doesn't interest me, right? Like I don't care to see it. I had my fill of engaging with that archetype, with that character within The Dark Knight, and I thought Heath Ledger was very good within it. And it did look like a deeply shameless ripoff of The King of Comedy, which is pretty good. Is a pretty good movie. Like but I don't want to engage with those thoughts. Like those thoughts, that psychology doesn't interest me. Like I wouldn't want to rewatch The King of Comedy either. I don't feel like interacting with that psychology. I don't get anything from it. I don't relate to that sort of nihilism. Like I don't care about that quality. I don't care about that mindset, so I didn't watch it. And I don't intend to watch it. If you can tell that a movie is not made for you, maybe don't watch it. I just because you don't like something personally doesn't mean that it's overrated. Like you have to demonstrate that it was culturally overrated. Now, a lot of people did love this movie, and I could see someone thinking that it was overrated, but I don't think that this hasn't convinced me in any way. So, this list was bad. This was a bad list. Oh, there's Joker right there. I should have remembered. I should have remembered he was featured there. Of course he was number one. This fucking pisses me off. Like, dude, You take Molly Ringwald's face off of your clickbait, bro. She's an icon. Get her the fuck out. You stupid ass Guardian. It's not even the Guardian. I'm sorry. You stupid ass Independent. Look, you can't even keep your stupid website alive. You have to literally drown it in advertisements. Oh, is this the guy who made it? Is this one of the guys who made it? Hi, guys. I didn't like the Joker. I don't like the Breakfast Club is insidious. Breakfast Club is such an insidious film. Roger Ebert said, what do I think the most overrated films ever are? I agree with some of it. The Shawshank Redemption, for sure. Um, well, the thing is, overrated films should change, right? As culture changes. And some films can be overrated within the moment. Just like books can be overrated within the moment. Like 1984 is overrated within this moment because it's cited so often. But maybe 10 years from now, it won't be overrated anymore. It'll kind of relax. It'll become more comfortable within the culture again. I think there are a lot of overrated movies out there, but the concept of something being overrated, it's dynamic. It changes. It's not static, and it shouldn't be static. What's overrated today could be even underrated tomorrow. It just depends on where cultural attitudes are at the time. And I think that by calling something overrated, you are calling something about a cultural attitude overrated, which I think is like really where the power is in calling a movie overrated. Like I think that Everything Everywhere All at Once is indicative of the decline of modern cinema. So like me calling attention to that and calling the film overrated is calling attention to that cultural attitude, which is really what you're trying to do. Most of this list was just dumb. Most of this list was like, well, I didn't like it. Must be overrated. Like, no, that's not how that works. And that cultural attitude has to still be like relevant. People actually have to still believe and practice it. Like, I didn't see the birth of a nation on here because it's irrelevant at this point. But you can certainly say that probably in 1915 or even 10 years or 20 years after that, or when it experienced a resurgence in visibility, like you could call that film overrated because it doesn't even express its problematic philosophy eloquently. Like it's actually not even that great. So they don't actually care about insidious social messaging because there are legitimately insidious films with problematic and toxic and hateful um, social messaging that they just didn't include here. This list is bogus. Bogus. Subscribe to me. My name's your cult boyfriend. I had a decent time doing this. Thanks. Bye.